Hello. Today I want to discuss what in Greek we call the accusative of time. It's something that is usually explained fairly early on in Greek textbooks, but I think it's probably something that is best addressed, or rather than people can properly use. I would think under our B1, B2. I mean, it's very easy to understand what it is about. I will explain it in very very shortly, but it's a bit harder to put in practice correctly. So, what is the accusative of time? It's when we use the accusative in modern Greek, the accusative case, without any preposition to talk about time. I will give an example now. Τη Δευτέρα θα πάω στο γραφείο. Notice here, because many people tend to not listen this properly. Okay, it's important to notice I said τη Δευτέρα without any preposition. I did not say στη Δευτέρα. When I say στη Δευτέρα, I'm including the preposition σε, which is shortened to στη Δευτέρα. So this στη Δευτέρα is two words. It's the article, the definitive article tin, and σε, the preposition σε. So together they become stin or στο. For instance, είμαι στο σπίτι, but I will say το Σάββατο θα είμαι στο σπίτι. Το Σάββατο, not στο Σάββατο. So this is the accusative of time, using the accusative very commonly with the article, but without a preposition to talk about time. The first thing to notice here is that people are aware of the existence of ston, stin, sto, so the accusative with the preposition se in front of it, and they are not always aware of the difference between ton and ston, tin and stin, sto and to. And they are not really aware of when to use one or the other. The other thing is that in many languages, especially a very good example here would be English, when you talk about time, you have to use a preposition. So you say on Monday, in January, at Christmas, and whatever. And so many people expect, as very often happens, when you already know one language, the same features, the same grammatical features to appear in the language you're learning. But this is not the case in this particular situation. Also notice that in English you use many different prepositions for time. You can use on, in, or at. And this is very difficult for Greeks to learn. What's the reason? Because Greeks don't use any preposition. So I remember when I was learning English, to learn to say on Monday and in March correctly, instead of, let's say, in Monday and at March or whatever I used to say, it took me a lot of time. Actually, I did learn this properly after I got my C2. When I got my C2 certificate, the proficiency, whatever, I knew how to do it to pass the exams. I knew, sort of mechanically say, oh yes, it's on Monday or on Tuesday. But I really properly studied, how it should be done, and really sort of internalized the structure later. So what was the thing? The thing was I knew how to do the written exercise because I had the time to think and apply whatever rules I had learned. But when I was speaking, I still made a lot of mistakes. So the way usually we deal with that in exams is that we try to bypass it when we speak, because we know we might make a mistake, and we just know to apply the rule in written, in the grammar exercise and the writing. Anyway, I'm digressing a bit, but I think it's important to explain here that Greek and English on this level, when talking about time, behave very differently. So when do we use this accusative of time? in modern Greek. First, I would like to start with a language comparison that might be useful for some people. It's quite similar to the ablative of time in Latin. So if any of you knows Latin, that might be a useful comparison. In modern Greek, we use the accusative of time mostly when answering the question when something happened. There is an exception to that. I'll get to that later, but for now keep this in mind. So when in Greek would be pote. So when will you go to the cinema? Την Τετάρτη. Okay. Or also when we're talking about how long. Okay, I'll give example for both very, very shortly. So let's start with the first one. We're talking about answering the question when, or actually this one can be actually I wrote here something as pote, as when, but it's actually more like how long. Interesting. So let me change a bit. Give me a second to adjust my notes a bit, and we are back. So answering the question when, a point in time, right? When the answer is kind of a point in time. Some examples. Έφυγαν νύχτα. They left at night. Actually, here omitting the article adds a special coloring. Έφυγαν τη νύχτα and έφυγαν νύχτα is a bit different. Έφυγαν νύχτα is almost an adverb here. It would mean that it's also about the way they left. It means they left in a very hurried way. Έφυγα νύχτα means you did it in a hidden and quick way. Then we have, for example, ο Κώστας και η Μαρία συναντήθηκαν την Τετάρτη το πρωί. Κώστας and Mary met on Wednesday morning. Φάγαμε με τους γονείς σου τα Χριστούγεννα. I will give some more examples without translating. I think for more advanced people it's not really necessary. Θα πάω στην Πολωνία τα Χριστούγεννα. Το καλοκαίρι θα περάσω μία εβδομάδα στη Σαντορίνη. Το 1995 παντρεύτηκαν οι γονείς μου. Την πρώτη του μήνα θα πάρω το μισθό μου. Το Σάββατο θα πάω σινεμά με τον Κώστα. Notice, however, here, and I will get back to this later, I cannot say θα πάω σινεμά σήμερα τις 5. I have to say στις 5. Okay, we'll get to that later. Also, I cannot say στις 5. I cannot say τις 5 Απριλίου. I have to say στις 5 Απριλίου θα συναντήσω τον διευθυντή της εταιρείας. So keep those examples in mind. However, in addition to answering the question when, this accusative of time can be used to answer also the question how long. Okay, I will give some examples without translation here. Διάβαζα όλη νύχτα για τις εξετάσεις. Ο Πέτρος δούλευε 5 μέρες συνεχώς, χωρίς διάλειμμα. Χρειάστηκα 1 μήνα για να ετοιμαστώ για τις εξετάσεις. Η Μαρία έκανε 1 χρόνο να μου μιλήσει. Με περνάει 1 μήνα. This one I will explain a bit. If I say με περνάει 1 μήνα, it means he's 1 month older than me. Με περνάει 2 χρόνια, με περνάει 1 χρόνο. Είναι 2 χρόνια μικρότερος από μένα. So as I said before, keep in mind that in addition to talking about when, this accusative of time can also be used to talk about how long, to talk about duration. Now, let's get to the exceptions. There are 2 situations in which I shouldn't use the accusative of time, but I should use the accusative with a preposition. I can sum up these 2 situations this way, that it is when I have a number. Either if it's a time, that's the first case. For instance, στις 5, στις 10, στις 12. So I would say, το μεσημέρι, θα σε δω το μεσημέρι, θα σε δω όμως στις 12. Now I have to add, because I have to add the se preposition in front of the accusative, because I have a number. So, talking about a time, or when else can we use a number? When talking about a date of a month. For instance, στις 6 Απριλίου, στις 8 Δεκεμβρίου, etc. However, here it's a bit murky. It's a bit, it's not super clear cut. What I mean by this is that keep in mind some additional exceptions, some exceptions to the exception, for people who really want to have a perfect understanding of this rule. When I'm talking about years, I don't do that. It's when I'm talking about dates and when I talk about time. If I say, for instance, when were you born, πότε γεννήθηκες, το 1975. I will not say στο 1975. Πότε ξεκίνησε ο Ελληνοϊταλικός πόλεμος, το 1940. Η Κωνσταντινούπολη έπεσε το 1453. Η κατάκτηση της Αγγλίας από τους Νορμανδούς έγινε το 1066. So that's one exception. And the second exception is if I'm talking about dates, but I don't use the number, I use the ordinal. So it would be the first or the second. Την πρώτη του Δεκέμβρη. I will not say στην πρώτη του Δεκέμβρη, I will say την πρώτη. And very often we do this when it's some national holidays. For instance, την 25 Μαρτίου, την 28 Οκτωβρίου. Στις 28 Οκτωβρίου, την 28 Οκτωβρίου. Okay, so that's all I have to say today about this topic. See you soon.